is Rebecca Schissel-Marshall with Whole Body Upgrade, a podcast to help you get unstuck, feel better, and have more energy. Let's get started. Hello, I'm coming to you again from the land of the Creek and the Cherokee in what is now known as Athens, Georgia. And we're here today to talk about energy and how it can change your life. This is a really important piece, and not very many people are talking about it in relationship to health and wellness. And so this felt like a really important topic to talk about today. I've alluded to it already on some of the earlier episodes, but I wanted to go a little bit more into detail. So in talking about energy, first I want to make sure that we're all talking about the same thing. This is not the energy that we typically talk about, right? People will say, gosh, I wish I had more energy to do this project, or I don't have any energy for that. This is different. This is about the subtle energy that is not typically discussed in American culture. And being here in America, that's the culture that I know best. So this is a little different. This is more about subtle energy. And there are different ways that it's discussed in the world. But I want to talk from mostly a shamanic perspective, just to give you an idea of what I see with my clients and what I've seen in my own life and how it can really shift and change how you're feeling. Many traditions refer to energy from a perspective of either energy centers in the body. You may have heard someone mention in yoga about the chakras. Those are energy centers. Or if you've ever been to acupuncture, traditional Chinese medicine will work with meridians, which are energy channels. Or in yoga, they talk about nadis. Both are energy channels, just different traditions, but very similar, although in different placements. This energy that we have in the body flows in and around the body. And in traditional Chinese medicine or Reiki or even in yoga, they talk about blockages and disruptions of that energy can lead to pain or illness or mental disruptions. In my perspective, this is one layer of energy. It's a very important one, but it's one layer. It's still just one layer. The subtle energy body is very powerful. And what I have seen is that we have our own kind of signature energy that we carry with us, just like our personality. It is different in each individual, and it's typically very shiny and bright. I tend to see it as very vital, very vibrant, and it's connected to all the pieces of ourselves, which is something that isn't really discussed. And that's why I wanted to talk about it today. The energy that we feel, that energetic body, the energetic wellness body, can be influenced by emotions, by thoughts, by past experiences, as well as the people that are around us, the land that we're living on, or just visiting. So this energy is part of who we are, and yet we're not educated in how to take care of this energy. The example that I often give that's most relatable to present day is the energy that we notice when we enter a busy or a hectic place. And usually the example I give is the airport, although not very many of us are probably going to airports right now. But this is a very different energy than the energy of a spa or a yoga studio. So just in your mind, bring that sense up of what it feels like at the airport versus what it feels like in a spa. Very different energy. And on top of that, because people have their own energy, and whatever we're thinking influences energy, like I don't want to, I hope this is safe. Like if you think about someone at the airport, or their emotions, maybe they're worried or angry or excited or sad. These can also contribute to an individual's energy. So imagine a bunch of people walking around the airport, and they may be worried about flying. They may be angry about the person in front of them taking way too much time in the security line. So you may have noticed that some people just feel different to be around, even if you haven't spoken to them or you don't know their story. There's this subtle energy that, again, isn't really discussed in our culture, except in this vague way of, well, I just got a funny feeling about that person, or I had a gut feeling about him. And both of those are really great example of our body-based sense of that subtle body of energy, that energy wellness body. So because we don't discuss energy anymore in this particular culture, or very much, we've lost the art of caring for our own energy. We aren't taught basic principles of hygiene of energy or management of energy in the world. And I believe this is where some of the problems begin. We haven't been taught what to do with our own energy, or to recognize that we may accidentally, or maybe even purposefully, pick up on other people's energy or give it to them. So when we walk through the airport full of these people who have certain thoughts and emotions, we may accidentally gather pieces of their energy. It's kind of like socks picking up dust on a hardwood floor that hasn't been cleaned recently. It's not that there's anything inherently wrong with the dust. It's just that it wasn't ours. And especially if you don't know how to protect yourself, socks attract dust when we're walking over a hardwood floor. So what hasn't happened and is really needed in our culture is that we need to learn to discern when that energy that we've accidentally picked up as we walk through the airport, when it isn't ours, when it doesn't belong to us, and when it is ours and we need to do something about it, when we need to pay attention to that energy. And additionally, because we haven't been taught how to manage the energy, sometimes we will be the ones leaving the dust on the floor. We haven't been taught how to clean up after ourselves, how to take care and manage our own energy, not just picking up on others. So again, there isn't wrong with any of it. It's just energy. We all are made of energy. It is just ours, and we need to do a proper job of caring for it and appropriately giving it back to the earth to be recycled when we are not needing it, or when it's something that we no longer need in our system. So that's a little bit about what energy is. And now I'd like to talk to you about what it looks like. What happens if we pick up energy that isn't ours? And I thought I'd use an example and talk about my own perspective, as well as a few clients that I've worked with recently. Energy can show up in a number of different ways. It's not like, oh, you know energy because you get a red spot on your arm or something like that. Because I work with energy so often, and I work with my clients who often have obviously their own energy, and because I'm human and I'm sometimes vulnerable to energy around me, I can pick up energy that doesn't belong to me. So in my experience, when I have picked that up, I have a certain sense of what that feels like, and it's usually in my body that I can sense it. For instance, recently I was feeling a physical heaviness in my body when I knew I had picked up an energy that wasn't mine. It was like, that feels different. I didn't feel like myself. There was that physical component of it, but there was also a sadness that kept happening when there was no particular reason for it. There was a deep sadness. Sometimes for me, I'll end up crying at no particular situation. I've also experienced a tightness in the neck and shoulders that feels different than a soreness from working out or from staring at the computer screen too long. It feels different to me. And because I've been looking and practicing, I can notice that. You may not notice that at first, But this is why learning about what the difference is, and we'll talk about a little bit about how to do this, is so important. At one point in time when I picked up some energy, it felt like I was actually getting sick. Like it felt like I was about to have a fever, but I never had a fever and nothing ever really progressed. And that was a really good sign to me that there was something energetic that was happening. It can also feel like fatigue. Like there was a great overwhelming energy that came about, and I felt like I just couldn't get out of bed from physical exhaustion. Another way that it can manifest is just the feeling of stuckness. And this is what I often talk about on this podcast, right? That stuckness can actually be an energetic stuckness. It can feel emotional, it can feel mental, it can feel physical, but it's actually the energy wellness body. In all of these cases, when I'm experiencing this, what I found to be the most helpful is really to just ask myself the question, is this mine? Right? Just that simple question, is this mine? And then I listen. And I listen very specifically for an intuitive response, not letting the mind come in, not letting the mind have a conversation about why it should be mine or it couldn't be mine or I'm just feeling this, right? It's more about listening to the body. So I usually encourage my clients and students to listen to that body-based feeling, or in shamanism, it's referred to as the truth chord in some traditions, where you can just see if there's a yes, no response to what you're feeling, right? So you ask the question, is it mine? And then you listen for a yes or a no in your body, if you have a felt sense. If you know it isn't yours, then it is something that can be removed. In our current climate, there is a great amplification of what's happening around us, and there's unrest right now with the pandemic. There's unrest due to the great uncovering of white supremacy that has been present for many hundreds of years here in America. And all of this is energy that's happening in the collective. So I found that I had my own energy to deal with, right? I had my own subtle energy body to deal with, the energy wellness body, but I also was experiencing the collective energy of unrest that was occurring. I was vulnerable to feeling that. So once I sorted out that it didn't belong to me, I could stop searching for what is wrong with me and actually then just have the energy cleared. And that's can be a simple process of just working with someone who's trained in extraction, in energy extraction. This was part of the training in shamanism, is that when I learned about energy and this missing piece it seemed to be in many of my clients' struggles, a light bulb went off as if I could see the connections. In many of the different trainings, we talk about, how to deal with sadness or how to get people moving forward when they're stuck. And this was like another one of those final pieces that came together. It was like, oh, this is why my clients can't seem to move forward. So for example, with one client, she had a depression that was present that didn't seem to make sense for her. And they complained of a heavy feeling, of a stuckness in the body. Sometimes this energy is connected to a particular person. So, for instance, there may be a coworker or an ex-partner or spouse. And those individuals, if there was maybe an unhealthy attachment, there may be cords, energetic cords that are connected. Those cords then can take energy from a person or give energy to a person that they don't necessarily want. It's not really helpful. So these energetic connections will cause disruptions or drains on our energy that we experience as feeling sad or depressed. We could also feel them as physical pain. And because we aren't taught, again, that energy is a component of emotions or that energy is a component of the physical pain, we can't quite get to the root of the problem. And then we have trouble fixing the problem. Like some of my clients will go to talk therapy for a very long time. and not see any changes. And the reason is the root of the problem is the energy that needs to be removed. And when that energy can be removed, then they have a relief in the symptoms. So by removing that energy that doesn't belong to us, or removing the cords that doesn't belong to us, it helps the energy, our own signature energy, to move again, to be in its original form or close to it again. So then we begin to feel better. We feel more vibrant. We feel like we can move forward in our lives. And this is one of the things I noticed. I also work with women who are building their businesses, and just if they're feeling stuck, often there's some sort of an energetic block. It may be something from childhood. It may be from a past relationship. It may be just from traveling through the grocery store in the middle of a pandemic when everyone is having a really hard time. All of those are opportunities that can lead to disruptions in our own energy body. Often those women will come back later saying, I haven't felt like I could move forward in my business. I couldn't create that new class. And all of a sudden I feel like I can now. I can post that thing on social media. I can make that step forward. Or, gosh, I decided I would apply for this new job. Or my clients will say, all of a sudden, I feel like I can make good food for myself. I feel like I can exercise again. And they don't always remember, because it's so subtle and we're not taught about it. I will say to them, remember, we removed that energy last week. And they're like, oh, yeah, I didn't even put that together. So that energy, on many different levels is very subtle of, I could send that email that I've been putting off. Or it could be very pronounced in not feeling pain in our bodies anymore. So one of the clients, once we cleared cords from a previous partner, her neck felt better. She could move her neck in a way that she wasn't able to for a while. The depression that she had been feeling was lifted. So these are all the ways that I see the benefits of how energy, working with the energy level, it's not discussed in our regular health practice. It's not discussed in our regular culture. And I feel like it's one of the core component missing pieces of health and well-being in our lives. This is why I'm so passionate about looking at wellness and well-being in a much more holistic way, using the centered wellness framework and the 5 wellness bodies. The physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, the energetic body, and the spiritual body all have a role in how we feel each day. And if one of those is out of balance, it doesn't matter what you do with the other 4. You can pay attention to all the other ones. You can eat all the most wonderful, beautiful, organic, healthy, fresh foods. And if you're ignoring your energy body and you've picked up, your first boyfriends and your ex-husbands and the boss that you work with, all of their energy, and you haven't cleared that, then it's likely that you're going to see problems. But if you work on good energy maintenance and good energy hygiene, that is huge. That can make a huge difference. So one of the things that I'll encourage you to ask is to just simply ask that question. Is this mine? When you're feeling sadness, when you're feeling stuck in a certain way, you can ask if it's yours. If it is yours, it can be cleared. If it's not yours, it can be cleared. That's one of the beauties of the shamanic practice of energy work, is that there are ways to actually loosen and move this energy so that your signature, vibrant, vital energy can be maintained in a way that is shiny. And there are ways that you can keep track of your own energy. One of the things that I teach my clients is to help protect their energy when they're dealing with going into places. And especially right now, people are upset. Life is hard for a lot of people right now. So there's a very easy practice of transfiguration that you can use. It's basically just finding your own light and allowing it to emanate through your entire body and out through your physical boundaries around you in almost like a bubble. This is very healing and very protective. I also have a free guided meditation to help you get unstuck using some of this cord releasing, and that's on my webpage. You can find that at centeredyou.com, and you can sign up for my newsletter and receive that free meditation. All right, friends, it's been so good to talk to you about energy. Thanks so much for listening today, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Whole Body Upgrade. If you'd like to learn more about working with me, you can visit me on Facebook or Instagram, or on my website, that's centeredyou.com. See you on the next episode of Whole Body Upgrade.